All right. So that. All right. Everybody's in? Bill? Robbie? Okay. Y'all all ready?
Yes, sir. Sure, Governor.
All right, well, good afternoon. First of all, I want to thank the President, President Trump, Administrator or Director Lee Zeldin over at EPA, Scott Mason, who is the Region 6 Administrator. I want to thank all the folks at the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality, the Louisiana State Police, the Tangible Sheriff's Office, the Parish OHSEP, the Air Emergency Office, the National Weather Service, and all of the state and local and federal agencies that have helped us. You know, it is because of that collective bunch that I just spoke about that this response that we can report there has been no injuries. And the great thing about it, even better than that, there's been no deaths. I'm here to report to you all that EPA has taken over as the lead agency responding to the fire over at Smitty's Supply. EPA's top priorities are containing hazardous materials that may still be on site and recovering any unburned materials from the facility, nearby ditches, ponds, or anything that has gone into the Tangible River. You know, it's important to recognize that this is not just simply an environmental issue, but this disaster affects the lives of all of the great people who worked at that facility and lived in that region. Certainly this is going to impact the town of Roseland. So I speak to them first, then to the parish, and then to the citizens of the state. It's important to recognize that Smitty's facility basically provided products that allow all of us to enjoy the quality of life that we have, not only in this country, but in this world. The products that were shipped out of that facility help to make all of the engines and machinery and things that we use on a daily basis work. That's how important that facility is. So facilities like that around this country are absolutely vital and important. It's also important to know that all of the agencies that stand behind me are here and working hand in hand to provide the public with both answers and to solutions as we work through this disaster. EPA has deployed an on-scene coordinator and a technical assistance team, which they call START, and they have been just unbelievable. I mean, to think that we've been able to have this fire extinguished in 72 hours speaks volumes for everyone who responded, not only the governmental agencies, but the private contractors as well. And EPA and DEQ's response has been from the beginning, making sure that air monitoring and the oversight of the extinguishment of that fire and containment began immediately. Since that time, they've deployed over 1,900 feet of containment boom in the river and 100 feet in the nearby drainage ditches. Nearly 150 people are engaged in field operations representing all levels of government, as I said, and those contractors. And we are going to be here, and I have a commitment from EPA that we are going to be here every step of the way until we get the site cleaned up and figure out a way to move forward. We also know as I said earlier, that jobs have been displaced and livelihoods upended. I'm hoping that the kids can go back to school tomorrow. The parish president will talk about that as well. Maybe those children might not want to go to school tomorrow, but certainly we're hoping that we can open that school. And it's also amazing to think that starting on Friday, there were 850 people who had to be evacuated, and today there are only 7 homes that can't be accessed. So again, I cannot say how proud I am of that response. I got to tell you, the parish president here, Robert's going to speak in just a minute, but he has done an unbelievable job. I've been able to watch his press conferences, and I think that he and the sheriff and everyone here at the parish have just done an unbelievable job. I hope that you know that the nation was watching, and they can watch and say that they hope that their communities could respond to something like this as quickly and as effectively as y'all have. I also know that the public has a whole lot of questions that they may not have answers to. But guess what? We can't get you some of those answers, because being able to answer the questions that you may have take time. When you take a water sample and you send it off to a lab, there is a certain amount of time that it takes to get an answer. We can't get our results like you get your news on TikTok. It doesn't work like that. It takes a while. So I ask the public to have some patience. It's also important to understand that we had an interesting sequence of events that happened. When that fire broke out, there was a big rainstorm. And so that rainstorm, because of that rainstorm basically coming over that plume of smoke, brought all the particulates that were in the air to the ground. That doesn't mean that what landed on the ground was utterly toxic. But that's what happened. In fact, if there wouldn't have been a rain event, you probably wouldn't have seen much. And so, again, we are going to make sure that we put out the most accurate information that the public has. But from what I've been told, from what I can see, there really is no imminent danger to any life or property, other than we have to clean up a big mess. If we find that something changes as of today, the first people we're going to contact are the press and the public, and let them know that. So with that, I would like to bring up Tangible Parish President Robbie Miller, who I believe has done an outstanding job. Robbie.
Thank you, Governor. I think when you look at this response, and welcome, thank y'all for being here. When you see the folks, all of the agencies and all the people standing behind us, it represents the response that has been in play since approximately from 1 hour to 6 hours of this event beginning. And everyone's been on site. I'm confident that there isn't a better team or a better effort to have started fighting this fire. I think I know the information we were given a little while ago is that it was a 20-acre fire of petroleum products and various other things that Smitty's makes. As the governor said, the tremendous effort to get that under control and to protect the environment. We had the evacuation of 1 mile for safety purposes of explosions, and we didn't know what the fire was going to do as it went into the air. So we were, out of abundance of caution, we backed everybody up. So that was the reason for the evacuation. At the same time, the governor said it too, but I have to reiterate, the idea that we had an event like this had to only been divine intervention, that we don't even have an injury. And through the whole fight, we've had a firefight, and through the recovery so far, there hasn't been one injury. And of course, no deaths. And I don't know that an event like this could happen without that. It's just unbelievable how that could have happened. Tribute to training, preparation on Smitty's part and our fire department's part, and the contractors that came in place. So I want to make sure that we recognize how important that was. There's more that I can say, and I'll answer any questions in a minute, but we're going to turn it over so that you can talk to the experts about this. But I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the 400 jobs and the family, the Smith family, who started Smitty's almost roughly 60 years ago. And they built it from one man in a van to roughly 450 employees and basically international company. And those folks today are trying to figure out which way is up. One quick thing about that, through Louisiana Workforce, through Tangipahoa Parish Workforce, and Smitty's, today there was a office set up, the mobile unit from Louisiana Workforce in Hammond for those individuals that work at Smitty's that are unsure where they are, could go there and start finding out what services are available to them. So a tremendous response on all levels. And with that, I thank you for coming. I'm going to turn it over to Scott at EPA. Thank you all very much.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Scott Mason. I'm EPA Region 6 Administrator over Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico, Louisiana, Arkansas, New Mexico, and for the South Central United States. Governor Jeff Landry, your leadership has been phenomenal through this. Really appreciate you and working hand in hand with the governor, with the governor's office. LDQ Secretary Courtney Burdette has been phenomenal. The secretary and I were on the phone within minutes of this explosion happening and us finding out about it in Dallas. And we talked all through the weekend, multiple times a day. There was never a pause in our communication. I also want to thank Parish President Robbie Miller, who's done a fantastic job in leading this from the parish side. And I know that we also have federal partners here from the ATF who will be speaking here in a moment. And I would be remiss if I didn't recognize our on-scene coordinator, Bray Fisher, who you will hear from here in a minute, who's one of the finest that there is in the response efforts. I'm here today because I want the citizens and residents of Louisiana and Tangipahoa Parish to know that they can count on the United States EPA to be responsive and to be in action when called upon. And we have been called upon, and we stand ready for that. You know, you can't fully understand something until you are physically seeing it. So it was very important for me to get down here as quickly as possible, which is why I'm with you all here today and have been here on the ground all day. On August, I also just want to mention too, it is absolutely what the governor and the parish president said. It is by the grace of God that there was no loss of life and no injuries. So I think we need to recognize that. This has been an unprecedented and coordinated response. From the minute the U.S. EPA found out about it, we deployed immediately on-scene coordinators and our START response team contractors. They were here within a matter of a couple of hours. And we have been on the scene, and as of yesterday, we took over as the primary response agency. On August 22nd, the EPA was notified by the Louisiana State Police of an explosion and fire at the Smitty Supply Inc. Facility in Roseland, Louisiana. While the cause of the explosion is currently unknown, multiple above-ground storage tanks as well as multiple drums and cylinders were involved in that fire. To keep nearby members of the public safe, an evacuation was ordered for anyone within a 1-mile radius of that facility. EPA staff arrived, as I mentioned, on scene the same day within a couple of hours and began assisting in the Unified Command with other Louisiana state partners and our local agencies. They conducted community air monitoring and documented the facility's efforts to secure the release. EPA's Airborne Spectral Photometric Environmental Collection Technology, otherwise known as our Aspect aircraft, was also activated to perform wide area air screening immediately to support the on-the-ground monitoring efforts that were taking place. The sampling results indicated that the air held no danger to human health, and it continues to hold no danger to human health. On August 24th, EPA began the transition, as I mentioned, to assume operations as the lead on-scene agency coordinating the response. EPA will contain any remaining on-site hazardous materials and recover unburned material from the facility in ditches, ponds, and the Tangipahoa River. The recovered materials will be transported and disposed of at an EPA-approved facility. Operations are continuing around the clock, with more staff heading to the response location. We'll continue to conduct air monitoring and work to complete all aspects of the cleanup. EPA is also aware of materials that have flown into open waterways, and we are actively performing containment operations to reduce and remove recoverable amounts of material. EPA makes these recoveries of materials via vacuum truck with the materials stored in a frac tank for safe disposal at an EPA-approved facility. We will continue to coordinate, I should say, with the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality, the Louisiana State Police, Tangipahoa Parish Sheriff's Office, the National Weather Service, the Governor's Office, and the Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness, and the Tangipahoa Parish Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness, and members of the public in order to keep everyone informed and safe. And again, I cannot underscore the cooperation between state and federal in this response. It is something that the folks of Louisiana should be and can be proud of. Thank you, and I'll turn it over to Bray Fisher.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bray Fisher. I'm the Federal On-Scene Coordinator. I'm with EPA for this response. And so I just wanted to touch on a couple key points of a little extra detail. So we are aware that everybody is really wanting those sample results. We have gotten some of the sample results back, and they are undergoing quality review. And the sample results we have gotten back, we are using those preliminary results to make informed decisions about our operations as we move forward. The fire currently is 98% contained, and we have taken the 1 mile evacuation zone, and it has now been shrunk into just the immediate area around the facility. We are currently today building a earthen berm around the facility, and that's going to help us with containment. So not only containment that is on site, but also if there's any rain events, keeping things on site so they don't migrate further off site. As we've also deployed containment boom in the spill pathway as well to make sure that things don't continue to migrate throughout the environment. So just a few numbers so far. Other than the firefighting, we also have started recovery where we can. So we're at around 100,000 gallons of recovered material and about 10,000 gallons of recovered foam at this time. So I will turn it over to Louisiana Department of Air Quality. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Courtney Burdette. I'm the Secretary of the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality. I'm here to report that DEQ has been actively monitoring the air quality since the inception of this event, along with EPA. We have deployed our mobile air monitoring laboratory, which we call our MAML. It's currently located on Highway 51, immediately adjacent to the site, about 0.2 of a mile away from the site of the incident. The MAML is currently providing real-time air monitoring data, which is available for public viewing on our LDEQ website. At this time, the air monitoring data from our monitors is showing results that are below actionable levels, and we will continue to monitor air quality in the impacted area. DEQ has also directed CTEH, which is the Center for Toxicology and Environmental Health, to collect representative samples of soot deposits in the impacted area. The results of the samples will be shared as they become available. DEQ is committed to working with the Unified Command to ensure that we disseminate information to the public as quickly as we can. The health and safety of our citizens and the community remains our highest priority, and we would like to thank our federal, state, and local partners, the parish president, EPA, for working with us so closely since the beginning of this event, and we will make sure that DEQ is here until the very end. Thank you.
Thank you, Courtney. I told you could do it. When I asked her to take jobs, she said, I don't have to talk to the press. I said, no, you don't. Well, I didn't know we had this incident. Well, look, a couple of things as we close up. We'll take some questions. I also want to recognize that the State Fire Marshal and ATF are here. They are going to begin an investigation so that we can get an answer as to what the cause of that fire was. Again, let me just again say to the people of this state, we have seen, unfortunately now, twice, major events, well, more than that, maybe 2 or 3 times now, major events that have affected this state, beginning with the terrorist attack that happened on New Year's Day. And at each one of those times when we were tried, I want to tell you that the federal government has helped us. The agencies have worked seamlessly with our state agencies and with our local agencies, and I think that speaks volumes, and I want to tell them thank you. I want to also say thank you to all the first responders who have been working around the clock since the beginning of this event on Friday. Without those folks, we don't get the success that we stand here today and talk about. The fact, again, as Scott mentioned, that we have no injuries and no one lost his life is really not only contributable to an act of God having some mercy on us, but the consistent professional efforts that our agencies seem to exhibit again and again. And so with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that y'all may have.
Everyone can get a question as long as it's on topic.
Yeah. Okay, go.
Governor, can we tell people right now, is the water safe to drink? And this is also a question for the DEQ and the EPA. Records have shown that the company has been in violation of the Clean Water Act and also had several spills. Was there an issue or was there a problem in trying to get them to comply? Because apparently there were many violations for 12 quarters. Why didn't any sanctions or any corrective actions were taken?
Well, let me break that up into a couple of things. Is the water safe to drink? Well, are you talking about like out the ditch or out the river or just out of your faucet?
Tap water, sir.
Yeah, I don't know that we've got any tap water issues at this time. I know my mom told me never to drink out the ditch either, so I wouldn't advise anybody to do that, whether we've got a problem here or not. And the second part of it was?
It would be a question for the DEQ and the EPA.
It happened to do with past violations or whatnot. Look, here's what I would say. Why don't we get through the response and cleanup phase and try to figure out what exactly caused the fire before we go diving into whether or not some violation that Smitty's may or may not have happened, whether it's been adjudicated or not. But certainly, if here's what I'll submit to you. If we find that there is a violation that occurred in the past that contributed to what we see today, we're going to make sure that y'all know about it, and we'll take that proper action. How about that? That's fair. Let's stay on topic right here. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm wanting the timeline straight. So I spoke to a resident who said they were told to evacuate and then the explosion happened. Were there multiple explosions? Was there like a fire and then an explosion happened? I'd love some clarity.
I wasn't here. Robbie was.
Yeah.
I want to make one clarifying statement that was made. We have 59, well, earlier today, this morning, there were 5,900 feet of boom put in the river in 14 locations. Fast moving, a lot of information changes on the hour. So I understand that we can accidentally put out some bad information. And 5,900 was, like I said, about 10 o'clock this morning. So on your question of the call came in roughly a little bit before 1 o'clock with an active fire. Our local fire department showed up on site with major flames, called an all call. So then from that fire, yes, there were multiple explosions throughout the first 24, 36 hours. So it would make sense that people heard things after the initial call.
So there were sort of, when that initial fire call happened, were residents immediately informed?
As far as I know, yes, sir. Well, I think once, it might have taken 20 or 30 minutes to realize how big this was going to get, or potentially going to get. And if you see these pictures, if you've been watching them, it happened very quickly.
Let's see. How about we just work our way this way? Yes, ma'am.
This might be a question for the EPA and LDEQ. I know you guys are doing continuous air monitoring. Can you explain a little bit further on what that really entails? Because for residents, they don't really know what that means, and they've been just walking outside the past few days, and still in certain areas you kind of smell a really strong scent. So I imagine their initial reaction is a lot of concern. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. I'll address it from the DEQ standpoint. So for air, we have national health-based standards. So we are monitoring for all of those standards. So it includes particulate matter, which is, the dust that you may see, carbon dioxide, VOCs. So we're actively monitoring for all those things. So in addition to our continuous monitoring, we're also taking grab samples. So we're taking those. We have real-time monitoring, which you can see on our website, but we're also taking grab samples that are being analyzed at a lab. So we have 2 levels of monitoring, and so far we don't have anything of health-based concern.
Do you guys know the timeline of evacuation for the plant and the employees at the plant and what that looks like?
Yeah, here's what I'll tell you. Whatever the plan was worked out marvelously because we had no injuries and no deaths.
We stopped by the center in Hammond today and spoke with several employees that are filling out paperwork, trying to get some help. Is there any immediate assistance that can be provided to them? Some of them said they really don't know where to go next and how they're going to pay their bills. Is there any immediate assistance?
Yeah, look, I know Robbie had talked about the workforce unit being here as well. We're going to be talking to SBA. We're going to continue to try to triage that situation. I couldn't, as of right now, I couldn't tell you immediately, but it is an absolute concern of ours. We have to work with the company as well and see whether they had any business interruption insurance or not, or things that might also help to give those workers some relief. It is a disappointment. It's something that really touches. I mean, here we are at an unbelievable opportunity in this state where we are seeing great investment come into the state, and we're announcing, all of the great new job opportunities that are coming to Louisiana, only to have an incident like that which affects 450 or more employees, and certainly there's a residual effect to nearby businesses. So it is a concern of mine. We want to make sure that we have some way to take care of those folks or give them an opportunity either to go somewhere else or to have some gainful employment. And this hit.
I don't know. I understand you said there's no imminent danger to the public, but a lot of people are, I guess, are worried about, they fish in the Tangipahoa River, like 25 miles down the river from where it happened. They had oil, and the people came up to saying, I fish in this lake. Some of my kids swim in this lake. Anything I can say on that?
Yeah. Look, again, what we've seen so far does not indicate that there's a danger or an immediate danger to wildlife or to human health. If that changes, we will let them know. It doesn't surprise me that we've seen the pictures that we've seen. We're dealing with hydrocarbons, with petroleum-based products. We're dealing with a lot of soot. It was a big fire. It is a mess. And that's what we're here to say, that we're going to get that cleaned up so people can go back to fishing and swimming and skiing and whatnot.
Sir, what has Smitty's said about the types of products in those storage tanks?
Look, I haven't spoken to anyone in full transparency that at Smitty's. I've just been dealing with our agencies. I mean, from what I have gleaned, is most of it is petroleum-based products used in lubricants, and which is really a big relief for where we are right now, based upon what we could have been dealing with had there been other types of chemicals or other based products. So again, I think that while this is certainly a tragedy, it is a relief that we're dealing with these types of products and maybe not others, and we haven't lost any life and no one has been injured. And so again, I will tell you, we'll continue to update our social media. I want to again thank EPA and ATF and our federal partners that have been here, and a big shout out to our first responders and the firefighters who worked on this, and I do appreciate your time. Thank you.
Is there any assistance for residents who are now working to get all of this oil and soot off of their properties, or where can they go for help if, now they're cleaning all of their property? This is going to be the last question.
Yeah, look, again, I would tell you, I wouldn't begin that cleaning process if you couldn't until we finalize the sampling. But certainly if the sampling continues to look like it is now, then they shouldn't have a problem. Just go and wash your car at the car wash. We don't see anything that puts the public in immediate health concerns. If that changes, we will let you know. We'd rather be right than just put out bad information, but I can promise you these folks are working as fast as they can. Thank you.